Okay, let's talk about it. Weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy are absolutely everywhere right now. But behind all the headlines and the social media hype, what is it actually like to take them? What really pushes someone to start and what happens next? Well, a brand new study sat down with the actual users to find out. And let me tell you, their story of desperation, of control, and of finally feeling normal, it's probably not what you think.
111,000. Just think about that number for a second. In Denmark alone, that's how many new people started this kind of treatment in just its first year. So this isn't some small niche trend. It's a massive social phenomenon. But every single one of those 111,000 people is an individual who made a really profound, personal decision. So the question is, what brings them to that point?
Well, what the study found is that for the people who seek out these drugs, it is rarely, if ever, a first choice. It's not about convenience. Instead, it's seen as the last and maybe the only option left after a long, and totally exhausting journey.
You see, for pretty much everyone in this study, the decision didn't come from wanting an easy way out. No, it came from pure exhaustion. It came after trying countless diets, endless workout plans. They just felt like they'd hit a dead end. This one person really summed it up perfectly. I have absolutely run out of options. I have tried all sorts of diets and workouts and anything. You can just feel the fatigue in that sentence.
So what was the final straw? What was that tipping point? For a lot of folks, it wasn't some gradual thing. It was a single, shocking event, a doctor sitting them down with alarming blood test results, a deep, real fear of not being around to watch their kids grow up. One person even had a critical operation completely canceled because their BMI was too high. These were real, tangible moments where their weight suddenly felt like a direct threat to their life, or at least the life they desperately wanted to live.
So, the decision's made. The next big step? The doctor's office. And you can imagine, this appointment is just huge. It's packed with a mix of really intense anxiety, that fear of being judged, or even worse, being dismissed, and at the same time, this overwhelming hope that this could finally be the answer.
You can just feel the sheer relief in this person's words, right? I am lucky. Getting that prescription, it wasn't just about the medicine itself. It was about finding a doctor who actually listened, who trusted them, and who finally validated their long struggle. It was about feeling heard.
But here's the thing. Getting the prescription wasn't the end of the anxiety. Not at all. A whole new worry started to creep in. This constant, nagging fear that this lifeline could be cut off at any moment. They'd go to appointments wondering, is this the time they're going to say no? It just goes to show, this isn't a simple fix. It's an ongoing process, and it's filled with uncertainty.
And this brings us to what might be the most fascinating finding in the entire study. The popular narrative often frames these drugs as a passive thing, an easy fix you just take. But what the research shows is the complete opposite. Once they get that prescription, users become incredibly active. They become the agents of their own care.
So here's the official rulebook for Wegovy. This is the by-the-book plan. You start with a really low dose, and then you slowly, methodically increase it over 17 weeks until you hit the standard maintenance dose. It's a very clear, very linear roadmap. In theory, this is exactly how it's supposed to go.
But in the real world, things look a whole lot different. People aren't just blindly following that schedule, they're taking control. Like this one person said, they would not tell me to increase the dose after 1 month. This is my decision. That right there, that phrase, this is my decision, that's the key. They become the primary manager of their own treatment.
So how exactly do they do that? How do they customize their dose? Well, they develop this really clever technique they call counting clicks. You see, the injection pens make this audible clicking sound as you dial up the dose. So users figured out that by carefully counting those clicks, they could give themselves smaller, more precise in-between doses. They essentially hacked the pen to find the exact amount that worked for them. It's a pretty remarkable example of patient-led innovation.
So why go off-label like this? Why not just follow the instructions? Well, the reasons are incredibly smart and rational. For some, a lower dose was already working just fine, so why increase it? For others, it was all about managing side effects. Or, and this is a big one, making the very expensive medication last longer. This isn't recklessness. It's a calculated, logical effort to find a perfect personal balance and regain a sense of control over their own body and their treatment.
Okay, so after all this, the desperation, the decision, the self-dosing, what is life actually like on the other side? After the weight loss, what's the new reality? The study shows it's this really complex world of incredible new freedoms, but also frustrating new judgments.
The joy in this new reality is just profound. For so many people, it was about the little things, the simple things. Can you imagine the freedom of walking into any clothing store and just buying normal clothes? Something most of us completely take for granted. This wasn't just about fashion. This was about shedding a constant source of stress and finally feeling like you fit in. It's powerful.
But here's the painful paradox. This incredible internal feeling of victory often clashes with a really harsh external reality. On the inside, they feel like they've saved their own life. They feel proud, and rightfully so. But from the outside, they often face judgment, people calling it an easy solution or a cheating cure. So they're forced to live with this constant conflict, a deeply personal triumph that's also somehow a source of public stigma.
You can really think of the whole experience as this big balancing act. This chart kind of helps visualize it. On one side of the scale, you have these huge positives. Massive gains in physical health and this newfound social freedom. But on the other side, you have an almost equally heavy set of challenges, from managing side effects to dealing with all that social judgment. It really shows that for users, this new life isn't just pure bliss. It's a constant negotiation between huge, life-changing wins and very significant struggles.
So what does all this individual experience mean for the bigger picture? Well, the study makes it crystal clear. This new reality raises some huge questions, not just for the patients themselves, but for our entire healthcare system.
When you boil it all down, what you see is this major disconnect. On one hand, you have these patients who are being incredibly resourceful, who are personalizing their own care because the one-size-fits-all model just isn't cutting it. They're crying out for more guidance, for more holistic support from dietitians or psychologists, and for a stronger partnership with their doctor. And these are all things the system, as it's currently built, just isn't set up to provide.
And that leaves us with this final, really critical question. There's no doubt this treatment is revolutionary, but the actual experiences of its users show this huge gap between the official guidelines and what's happening in the real world. It reveals a patient population that is desperate, that is resourceful, and that is in desperate need of a completely new kind of support. So the question we all have to ask is our healthcare system even remotely ready for this new reality?